Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Global Diamond Broker podcast. This is your host, Colin Ferguson, and GIA Judy.
What's that actor's name that's really hunky? He got married.
Ryan Reynolds.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Ryan Reynolds is too young for me to compare myself to, but what's the other guy's name?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, he's too pathetic. Like, dating a 19-year-old, Leonardo, bro. No, who is he?
Come on, fact checker.
He's George Clooney.
Oh my God, he's so yummy.
Don't I remind you of George Clooney? Right? Like, I remind me of George Clooney. So
That's great that you think that, Colin.
is that a clinical narcissist?
That was also very random.
Right? 'Cause
Anyways.
one of my ex-girlfriends called me a clinical narcissist recently.
She was right.
Right? Yeah. She's called me a lot of... anyway. I digress. Welcome back. How are you this week?
I am well. We're now on episode 38 of our
Wow.
podcast, which is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's a very lucky number, having said that, but aren't they all for us? Everything. And so we have a bit of a new format, a bit of an addition to our format this week as we take people backstage in the diamond industry, because this, I can assure you, nobody else in the diamond world is talking about what we talk about here at the Global Diamond Broker podcast, backstage. I want to change the name and include backstage, but so far I've been voted down like there's a vote. And so this week we have an addition. Trisha, the fact checker, is here with us, who's going to pull up information. So if you hear her chime in from time to time, all the good Joe Rogan.
You're going to let people
this.
chime in? You're going to let people talk?
Some people, it's hard to get to shut up, right?
That's why we do so well together.
Right.
Anyways, so what would you like to talk about?
Well, I think what we're going to be introducing this week, this won't be a surprise to her because, she's ad-libbing right now, but we already talked about it. Judy actually was doing the GIA fact-checking thing this morning and came across a bit of a disturbing fact. Now, before we get into this, we're not pro-mine diamonds. We're not pro-lab-grown diamonds.
We're pro.
We're not supposed to say it because remember that
We're pro having a choice.
you having a choice when it comes to the diamond that you want to own. But taking people backstage, there's things, and our new website is going to carry all these articles. We're excited to get the new website up. It is quite a technical undertaking because of what we want to provide. But there will be articles to support both sides. One of the things we're very big on, though, is the environment. And we're going to be very, very, very adamant in our pursuit of the truth about just what causes, and this is one of the big fights, I think, between the lab-grown diamond industry and the mine diamond industry, of which still today there's no one in the world who can look at both and tell the difference. But yeah, there's the environmental impact of each, and it's interesting because both of them point a finger at the other.
That's very true.
Right? And so to a certain degree, like a lot of things, there's the truth is somewhere in the middle. This is a war, and in all war, whether we look at what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, I want to talk again about Russian diamonds this week as well. They're blood diamonds, and the U.S. government, again, the lame U.S. Joe Biden, who's afraid to do anything, is talking again about sanctions that were already put in place that weren't real sanctions. So that's number two thing I want to talk about today. And what else do you want to talk about?
Well, this morning we came across an article, and this article talked about the fact that the Diavik mine in the Northwest Territories,
Owned by...
Rio Tinto.
Right. Is it owned by Rio Tinto?
Yeah.
Gosh, we got to watch.
Can we
what
get a
say.
fact checker here?
But here's the problem. Diavik is owned by Rio Tinto, but I used to be when I was the direct distributor for the
Argyle Pink Diamond
authorized partner. I worked directly with this mine, the second biggest mining company in the world, next to BHP. And anyway, don't let me interrupt you. I always do, but please don't.
You do
let
anyways.
Me. Yes.
So this Diavik mine, it had recently leaked over 450 million liters of wastewater from a broken pipeline, which is very, very interesting because of the fact that this happened back in February and it was only recently announced like last week.
You gotta wonder what goes on.
And you gotta wonder what goes on.
Right? It's war. What's going on in the diamond industry, people really, we can't stress enough, what's going on between lab-grown and mined diamonds is, it's a war that's going on. You know,
it's a battle.
Right? Like when a new product comes in that no one can tell the difference from the original and takes over 38% of the market and takes $12 billion in revenue, it's a war. The battle is on. And so, you know, like most battles, and Donald Trump taught us this, that the media lies and that these big corporations lie. And I've experienced that firsthand. So there was this bill, and then so we started to fact check a little bit more of the effects of, and I've talked about this, of mining on the environment, pre and post mining. You know, the open and mine, these mines have a life, and what happens when they leave. Now, I have a very optimistic story. So people say to me, well, you know, the Argyle mine, which for a long time was the biggest producing mine in the world till it closed only a couple of years ago, and it's closed forever. It produced, among other things, over 90% of the world's pink diamonds. And people talk about the fact that, you know, they seem to think that I'm just one side or the other when I'm not. Okay, again, we call it pro-choice here. We're not trying to be political about it, but nowadays you have a choice between a lab-grown diamond and a mined diamond, and as long as the quality is good with either, in my opinion, and that's a lot of things over and above the 4 Cs, you get a choice. But having said that, what's going on with the Argyle mine is there was an agreement made with the Australian government, with the native people there, the Aborigines, or Aboriginals, I don't know exactly what it is, the First Nations people, that the mine would be filled in.
So they would have to restore it back to, you know, original conditions,
And
which we know is not going to happen. But,
but I think
they
it is going to
They do their
happen.
best, but
well, you'll
there's
never
no
be
way.
original. I mean,
Yeah.
but they are
Good for them.
repatriating. No, I have the wrong word. What's
That
the
is-
word again? It's not repatriating the land. It's a word like that. Reparations? I don't think it's right. That was Tricia for the very first time. It's where they fill the mine back in. There's actually a scientific word for it, I believe.
Anyways, we'll figure it out. I'll pop it into the screen for a quick moment.
Yeah. They're going to fill it in. And in fact, this you may find interesting, and you would only know this, I guess, if you were really at the Argyle mine, like I was several times in my experience and working with Rio Tinto and the Argyle Pink Diamond Mine, was they actually have topographical examples of what everything was like before, which they have to bring back to. But they also, if you go to the Rio Tinto, you know, argylepinkdiamonds.com.au website, what they're actually going to do is bring it back to original. So if there was a tree growing in this space, they're going to put the tree back where it went.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Isn't it? So I have no issues with you owning an Argyle diamond. They're amazing. It's a hard asset investment today. They're one of the better ones. Also, they put a system, they were very progressive, in their approach to this. And so you can verify your diamond from Argyle. If you want more information on this, certainly contact us. But you can verify your diamond from Argyle literally by going on to the website and putting
plugging
in, the number,
in your
and,
inscription number.
and so it's exciting what they've done, but they're the only one. They're the only one. They're the only mine ever to do it, and it's being done now. The rest of them, I mean, years ago and now, because of where these mines are, apparently it takes a long time to report things like spilling. Right?
Well, this article that we just read this morning is a prime example of that.
And when we did a little bit of digging, what else did we find out?
What else did we find out?
About De Beers. Did you miss that?
I did.
De Beers pled guilty. Tricia, do you want to fill us in?
In 2021.
In 2021, so this is 2 years ago.
Yeah, De Beers pled guilty to failing to report mercury pollution at a Canadian diamond mine.
So there you go. That's the first fact from Tricia. And if you want copies of these articles, please contact us. But we're here to provide information not only about the quality of diamonds, which I want to talk about as well, and what's happening with the democratization of luxury, but also what's happening in the diamond industry. And so you've heard me talk about it here before. The mercury used, and this is one of the problems with this, is when these mines close and leave, the mercury is left behind in the soil. And it's poisoned forever. Do you see her push my arm off the table because I make a point by touching the table? Like, honest to God.
I gotta keep you in check sometimes. Okay.
Vivi.
Do you need a break?
My new name for you is Vivi.
Why?
Vicious Viet. Okay? Like the Vicious Viet. Judy's Vietnamese from northern Vietnam.
No, I'm from the south.
Whatever. You have Judy's one of 22 sisters? How
Close
many?
enough. 8.
8 sisters. Like, can you imagine?
My
And
poor father.
I met her mom and had a lovely lunch with her mom and a couple of her sisters, and met her nephew, that kid is one of those special, adorable kids in the whole wide world.
He is
Hard
really
to believe
cute.
it's
Related to this?
related to that.
Okay.
But, so we're leaving the restaurant, and Judy's mom gives me a hug, and it's not just a hug, it's a hug and hold. And she whispers in my ear. Do you remember what she whispered in my ear?
Tell them.
Thanks for taking care of my daughter. And so, like, honestly, she hasn't heard from her mom since. It's like an adoption almost. I kind of, like, her mom just went, finally, she's met a man who can look after her.
Oh my gosh.
Hey? Isn't that funny? And by the way, there's nothing going on between us. Do we need to have that talk
We're
again?
not together.
We're not together yet. I tease Judy and tell her we'll be, since I am TikTok famous, I watch
Here
a lot
we
of
go
TikTok.
again. Here we
I
go
watch
again.
a lot of TikToks, and if you go on, there's the older guy with the younger girl, and I think money's exchanging hands in these cases,
Oh my
right?
God.
Like, what do they call that? There's a word for it. What is it again? That they are? They're sugar daddies, sugar babies, sugar. Like, and then someone said to me the other day, "You're Judy's sugar daddy
Listen, there's
without
no-
the sugar."
There's no
Without
sugar
the
happening here.
sugar.
No sugar happening here.
So anyway, yeah, mining leaves mercury. It's not a good thing for the environment. Clearly, if we're having these kind of breaks in the in the most modern mines in the world. Now, there's good news as well. We want to report everything.
Okay.
When that spill took place, as far as we know, although there was a very big delay in reporting,
Right.
as far as we know, it was caught in, what did they call it?
A containment pod.
A containment
So it didn't leak
pod.
outside of this containment pod? Or did it?
Yeah, that's the question
Or
we
did
have
it?
to ask. Well, like, we don't know. But there was a big leak again, and these are things like the mainstream media is not going to talk about. It's like when some of the biggest mines in the world have closed. It was never mentioned.
It's very
me.
hush-hush.
We're going to be mentioning it here.
We're taking you backstage.
Taking you backstage. Now, that's that for today. So that's a report on what's going on in mining. We have De Beers pleading guilty to problems with mercury. This isn't uncommon. Most of it gets covered up. I can't imagine what's in place to monitor these sorts of things, but this is the mining world we live in. And what was our next topic we were going to talk about? Okay.
So the next thing we want to talk about is the fact that our diamonds you can find in the best jewelry stores in the world because we brokered them.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I speak now? Or am I back on?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I can speak again?
You're holding the conch now.
Oh,
There you
that's...
go.
Maybe that's something we should consider as a conch passing back
sure.
and forth. Right? Like you seem to be taking it more and more.
Someone's got to.
Yeah, well, apparently it's you. So yeah, the quality of diamonds. And really what we're talking about here is the democratization of the diamond industry. And without meaning to be, what we've become in the industry is a bit of a disruptor. Like we disrupt what's going on in the industry. Like, there's an article out this morning. It's interesting because we tried to download it. It was
We
about...
tried to download it.
We tried to reach out
What is
and
this?
download it. That's me reaching out and trying to download that article and then going, fuck, why won't it download? Where is it? Why won't it come in?
Breathe, Colin. Breathe.
Beep out that F word. There we go. Yes, that's what we need for more views.
Stop it.
So, where was I? We're getting crazier and crazier, right? Where was I? Just help me out. Line, please. Line.
Luxury diamonds.
Oh, luxury diamonds.
And democratizing
And
the industry.
democratizing and being disruptors. Because here's the thing. This article on Harry Winston, and make no mistake about this, the greatest jeweler of all time is Harry Winston. And Harry Winston knew something, and today is the only one in the marketplace who still knows where true beauty comes from. And the majority of it is from transparency in your diamonds. So they don't sell any diamonds.
Below an E color, isn't it?
Well,
Or is
it's
it an
F. They say colorless, but they know the value of D. And the most beautiful diamonds, you can go on to Sotheby's and Christie's and any of these large auction houses and look at the results. It's always D color.
It's always D.
Right? The value of a diamond when it goes from D to E, which D is transparent, when it goes from D to E, makes a huge difference.
And when
in
we
the
start
value.
talking about larger carats of diamonds, it's almost impossible. We just recently brokered one, an 8-carat cushion cut,
Like amazing diamond.
right? D color.
And we go out and try to find out price comparisons.
And there's nothing like it on the market.
There's nothing like it in the world. And one of the reasons we do this and can supply is we're the first people there. We're the broker. We're at the mine. We're at the laboratory. We're getting the diamonds. We were actually in New York for that diamond, going into the Gemological Institute of America for certification.
That very next day.
And the very next day, we paid double for it.
Yeah.
But knew, right? But knew the next day the grade of the stone. And I had it as an EVVS2, and I got corrected.
For once. It felt so good.
Really? Do you like that when I get corrected?
I'm just kidding. But it turned out to be a D.
To the benefit of our client, it turned out to be a D color VVS1. Triple excellent. There's not a more beautiful diamond in the world. So we spend a lot of our time, probably like some of our consumers do, since we're talking about the democratization of luxury. Were you going to hit my hand there for touching my glasses?
So close to.
Is that where, I know. I have, my shoulder from this morning before coming on air still hurts from my weekly whack, I call it.
Maybe you need to do more shoulder presses.
I call it my weekly whack because Judy has to slap me before we start the podcast every week. It's like how she gets ready for the show, and it's wrong. Again, I'm being held hostage in my podcast and put in a closet after this and brought out the next week. Look, I'm not even shaved this week.
You were so annoying.
So yeah, my memory's a little bit off today.
Is it?
Yeah, there was a little bit of an event here last evening, right? And so, yeah, it's a little bit off. It's a little bit off. And those of you who know me well know what that event was. And so, enough said. Because I don't bring my family into my podcasts, into my business, right? So, but it was a
Smart
big night
choice.
for my family.
Smart man. Yeah.
Although
Totally
I
was.
don't really remember that much of it.
Why is that?
Well, that
Tell
was
me.
'cause
Tell me
of
why don't you
the
remember?
amount of, one of my first entrepreneurial ventures, people don't know this, I don't know if you even know this.
Really? I know
was
everything about you.
I wrote
me.
a book on beer. Do you know this? Called The Beer
You
Facts.
did tell me that, actually.
I have the original here in this studio.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. I have
gotta
the
pull it out.
original, and I sold it to Labatt's. I was 19 years old enough to drink beer.
Really? Was that the drinking
Well,
age
I was
back
born
then?
in the Maritimes. and
Way
so-
back when.
So
Oh, sorry.
it's okay. I'm a man. We can take it. Okay. So I was born and raised in the Maritime, where you get off the breast at 6 months and on the bottle in 7. Okay, when you're right, like this is the Maritimes, the East Coast, fishing. I used to be a lobster fisherman.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I sailed all over the world on oil tankers for the Kent lines out of the East Coast. My first trip to Antwerp, Belgium, with no idea I would ever be in the diamond industry,
Really?
took place when I was 18 years
Wow.
old, working as a deckhand, and sailed into, at that point, which was the second biggest port in the world, Antwerp, Belgium, which at that point had been for 450 years the center of the diamond universe. I was on my way to Turkey with the Irving Stream. That was the line, the Irving oil family. For those of you who know, they're probably the wealthiest family in this country. I happen to be named after K.C. Irving, Kenneth Colin Irving. Hey, these are good ones, right? Like just reminiscing a little bit with
That's
you.
so interesting that the diamond business brought you back to Antwerp,
Brought
Belgium.
me back to Antwerp. And
Very
it's funny
cool.
because there's a book as well that I read in 3 days called The Master of the Game by Sidney Sheldon, which is loosely based on the life of Cecil Rhodes, that well before I ever got into the diamond industry got into me, was I read the book. And so when Doug Spence had to have me come work for his company, and I guess so far the rest is kind of history, although here we go again with I have mentioned I'm TikTok famous now. We sell diamonds all over
Never heard of it.
North America and the world. Really? So that's kind of exciting, but those are a little bit of background. I've
Very
had
cool.
reality shows offered,
Oh, we're going to have a couple more.
right?
Yeah.
I sort of sense that's coming as well. But yeah, so
Then
the
you
mo-
could really say that you're going to your, what do you say? You're going to your,
my trailer.
Your
Yeah,
trailer.
I want a real trailer.
Such a prince.
I don't want just. Did you say I'm such a princess?
No.
Or prince? You said
Yeah, I did
prince,
say
right?
prince. I did say prince.
Here, hang on. Speak up. Speak into the mic, right? I get this constantly. Like she bleeps them out now, but constantly the woman is pushing on me, pressuring me. So democratization, look, here's the bottom line. And we guarantee this. We're the first company in the world,
To guarantee the beauty of your stone.
the workmanship for life. So you can go to Harry Winston, and look, Harry Winston's the greatest jeweler ever, and I guess the brand could send me a letter, but I will, and none of them do. I thought we'd have something from Tiffany for sure
Oh,
by
for
now,
sure.
but none of them do so far. And because what we produce is a product where you can put your finger out in the best jewelry store in the world. We just do it for a fraction. We do it as a broker, right? How do we get the diamonds that they would love to have at some of these super high end, or the online companies would love to have, who, by the way, generally speaking, sell for twice what we sell price wise. They are retailers, please be aware of that. Is we get them first because we get there first. We're at the mine, we're at the, it's kind of, it sounds too simple, but it's that simple.
It is really simple.
After 40 years, we know the people, we have the relationships. I guess 40 years for me. When I got into the diamond industry, this is difficult for me. You weren't born for 15 years.
It's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're so connected?
Sure.
15 years before you're even on your way. So there's some backstage things that are going on in the industry today.
And I will link the articles in our letter below so that you guys can fact check, but we're never wrong.
Trisha, welcome to the company.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for your first fact-checking weekend.
Are you okay?
Like emotionally, mentally okay?
Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast, and we will see you next
38,
week.
right?
38.
38 is right.
See you next week.
God bless you guys.